everybody on a nice, cool, rainy day. Nice, need the rain, as I said to our volunteer firemen here a while ago, no grass fires, it's a good thing, right guys? Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Washington County Commissioners Court is now in session Tuesday, July 14, 2026 at 9:01 a.m. Mr. Malinski?
Today we have Randy Wells of Faith Mission going to lead us in the invocation, then we'll do the pledges.
Reverend Wells, before we give the invocation, we want to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! Happy birthday, Randy.
Thank you all.
But thanks for being here.
Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ, we bow in your presence, and we thank you, God, for the highest seat of government in this county. We thank you, God, for our judge and our county commissioners and their heart for service. We thank you, God, for all of these county employees who work so hard to be able to make Washington County one of the greatest places in this country. And finally, Father God, we thank you for this rain that we know comes to moisten the soil, to provide growth agriculturally for us. So we thank you, God, and we pray that you will give us wisdom as we deliberate the issues of the county. We bless your name and we thank you. In Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, presentation and possible action regarding approval of a proclamation honoring and recognizing Prairie View A&M University on its 150th anniversary and celebrating its historic legacy, academic excellence, and service to the state of Texas, the nation, and the world. This morning, to read our proclamation is Ms. Ashley Darrisaw. She is a student at Prairie View A&M, and Reverend Wells, could you introduce her a little bit better for us, please?
Yes, sir. All right. Everybody, this is Ashley Darrisaw. She's currently serving as a health intern at Faith Mission. There was a wonderful Lutheran pastor by the name of Bill Derrick, and almost 15 years ago, we started this generation of healthcare workers, social service workers, as a legacy of a succession planning. So she graduates on August the 8th, if she can deal with me and get through me. And we're just blessed and honored to have her. She's the 79th intern that we've trained here in Washington County from 7 different universities, from associates on up to doctoral level. So Miss Ashley Darrisaw.
Good morning.
So today we're honoring and recognizing Prairie View A&M University on its 150th anniversary, celebrating its historic legacy, academic excellence, and enduring service to the state of Texas, the nation, and the world. Whereas Prairie View A&M University had its humbling beginnings in the Texas Constitution of 1876, which created an agricultural and mechanical college. On August 14, 1876, the 15th legislature established the Alta Vista Agriculture and Mechanical College of Texas for colored youth. The first 8 students enrolled and began their studies on March 11, 1878. And whereas Prairie View A&M University, the second oldest public institution of higher education in the state of Texas and the third largest historically black college and university in the nation, is designated as an institution of the first class. In the Texas Constitution, enrollment exceeds 10,000 students and includes more than 85,000 graduates. And PVAMU is a Carnegie Classified Higher Research R2 university and a member of the Texas A&M University System, dedicated to fulfilling its land-grant mission of excellence in teaching, research, and service. And whereas Prairie View A&M University is committed to teaching research, service, and outreach that improves lives and strengthens communities across Texas and beyond. And whereas the university was originally a teaching college, but in 1887, the curriculum was expanded to include agriculture, nursing, arts, sciences, and mechanical arts. It became a land-grant institution on March 14, 1890. Began offering baccalaureate degrees in 1919 and established graduate studies in 1937, offering advanced degrees in multiple academic fields. And whereas in 1945, the name of the institution was changed to Prairie View University. And in 1947, the Texas legislature authorized expanded academic offerings equivalent to those at other major public institutions. On August 27, 1973, the name was officially changed to Prairie View A&M University, affirming its status within the Texas A&M University system. And whereas throughout its history, Prairie View A&M University has played a transformative role in expanding access to higher education, particularly for historically underrepresented communities, while fostering academic achievement, innovation, and civic engagement. And whereas under the visionary leadership of President Dr. Tamikia P. LaGraham, Prairie View A&M University has embarked on the ambitious journeys to immensity. To plan, evaluate the institution as a premier public, historically Black university and national model for student success, emphasizing research excellence, increased graduation rates, and strong postgraduate outcomes. And whereas Prairie View A&M University is home to numerous distinguished research centers and institutes, including the National Center of Infrastructure Technology and the Texas Juvenile Crime Prevention Center, which acknowledge innovation and community impact across disciplines. And whereas at PVAMU, students are inspired to realize their potential and reimagine the future, benefiting from a vibrant campus community representing multiple states and countries. Engaging more than 170 student organizations and excelling in academics, athletics, and professional development opportunities. And whereas Prairie View A&M University has educated generations of graduates who have served with distinction as educators, engineers, scientists, military leaders, entrepreneurs, elected officials, jurors, and public servants at the local, state, national, and international levels. And whereas the university's motto, Prairie View produces productive people, is reflected in the integrity, leadership, and service demonstrated by its students, faculty, staff, alumni, and partners. And whereas as the university commemorates its sesquicentennial anniversary, it has created a storied legacy of productive Panthers dedicated to serving their communities, the state, the nation, and the world. Whereas the celebration of Prairie View A&M University's 150th anniversary provides an opportunity to honor its historic contributions, recognize its present-day impact, and affirm collective support for its continued growth, excellence, and mission in the years ahead.
Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
And the last, now therefore it be resolved that the Washington County Commissioners Court hereby recognizes Prairie View A&M University for its outstanding contributions to higher education and its unwavering commitment to excellence in teaching, research, and service, and extends its best wishes to the students, faculty, staff, administrators, and alumni as they continue to build on the university's proud legacy. Is there a motion?
I make a motion honoring and recognizing Prairie View A&M University and its 150th anniversary, celebrating a historic legacy, academic excellence, and service to the state of Texas, the nation, and the world.
Second. Motion been made and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Would you like to come forward? Very well.
Thank you.
Well, yours is not.
Item Item number 4, presentation and discussion by Chief Appraiser regarding the calculation and development of county property tax rates and property tax exemptions available to eligible property owners. Ms. Diane White.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, I have today basically just kind of a summary of what I've presented to the commissioners and the judge so far. We are in the last few days of property tax hearings. What that means for local taxing entities is we're getting close to certifying your taxable values. So we'll have that done by the end of next week, and then we begin the official process of calculating tax rates. So we've presented some estimated tax rates to you, as well as estimated levies from that amount. And so I'd be happy to entertain any questions you all might have. I don't really have a formal presentation for today.
Well, Diane, thank you for coming. One of the things that I wanted you to come, because I know that there's been a lot of confusion over the years with all of the different ballot measures, and I spoke to this when we had a court session a week ago. And so I'd like to just address the over 65 benefits that we have here in Washington County.
Sure. So the over 65 and the disabled person exemption is completely mandated by state law. So every county works the same as far as how the tax freeze is administered. So that is the common language is tax freeze. You won't really find that language anywhere in the law. It's referred to as a ceiling. And so the first year that a person qualifies for either the over 65 or the disabled person exemption, it locks in the amount of tax they pay in that year on their homestead property. And then in future tax years, if there is an increase in property valuation and or tax rates, the tax dollars paid by that person do not change. The tax dollars stay the same. So valuations change, tax rates change, whether it is through the maintenance and operations side of the tax rate or the debt side of the tax rate, none of those affect the amount of tax paid by the over 65 homestead or the disabled person homestead. The only thing that I like to make sure people are aware of is it doesn't cover non-residential property. So any commercial property, rental property, agricultural property, those taxes do not freeze, but the homestead portion of the tax is frozen.
What if they do renovations on
Renovations typically do not increase the freeze unless square footage is added. So the way the law reads, it's new value that didn't exist before, but regular maintenance is not looked at as part of something that would raise your freeze. So if you need to, do a new roof paint and you also do a kitchen renovation, your freeze is not going to change. Those are looked at as basically maintenance, normal maintenance on a home.
it? Sure.
Does that freeze every part of your taxes or only the school part of your taxes? Or does it freeze every single line item on your tax bill? Or
Thank you for asking that. So I said that it works the same in every county. That is true only for school districts, but over 65 and disabled persons in Washington County are very fortunate in that every entity offers the tax freeze, with the exception of Oak Hill as a neighborhood, their water systems. But all the county, the city, and all schools. So if you have the freeze from the school, you'll have it from the other entities, which includes the county.
So what if it's a joint owner and one turns 65, but their spouse is only 60?
So when we look at spouses, they're considered as a unit. So a spousal unit, as long as one qualifies, that entire property gets the benefit.
How about if there's a new taxing entity formed?
So a new taxing entity would have to elect whether or not to grant the freeze. So Pecan Glen Road District does not have a freeze. Oak Hill Water District does not have a freeze. All other entities do. But yes, if there is a new taxing entity comes on, they would have to elect whether or not to grant the freeze, including mud districts.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out.
That's the reason I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Douglas.
Ms. White, do you have an estimate of how many age 65 and older disabled taxpayers or property IDs there are?
Yeah, we have about 5,300. So we have just over 9,000 homesteads total. A little more than half of those are, more than half of those are over 65 and disabled persons. eligible for those freezes.
Which is also, if you wanna kind of address that, like the calculation sheet, you know, but it's included in that, like if you go and you look at her calculation sheets, you can see that there's a field in the form for her to import the total value amount of the folks that are included in that freeze. So essentially, it reduces the taxable
Yes.
value for us.
Correct. When we're looking at an estimated levy, we take the total taxable value and subtract out the value of those homesteads that are frozen. So they're not part of the calculation at that point. We would take that value times tax rates, basically, and then add back in the actual frozen tax. And so that amount is set at the year. You know, some of the freezes have been on since the early 80s. We also have ones that are coming on every day. So it's a constantly revolving figure, but the frozen tax is added back in at the last part because it's not calculated by the new tax rates.
When someone turns 65, do they have to notify you all? Or how
Not
does it
if
work?
we have their date of birth on file. If we have their, so it's best for them, yes, to contact us just to make sure. But if we have their date of birth on file, we'll do the over 65 automatically for them.
And can you address real quick, because I spoke to someone the other day that was 67, and she was like, oh yeah, I just went and did that, and I go, well, good. I said, because it's retroactive up to 2 years. And
Correct.
so she was able to, you know, fix all
Yes.
that, but for the general public's information.
Yeah, it can be just a homestead in general, which the over 65 disabled person, again, they coincide with the homestead. But homesteads in general can be retroactive up to 2 years, and then it's an automatic refund from our office if there was tax that was overpaid.
And then we also have the discount, right, for the early payment?
Correct. The discount is taken on top of the frozen amount. It doesn't recalculate the freeze, but if someone with a freeze pays early, and we have no reason to not, knock on wood, have bills out in October this year, the 3-2-1 discount would be honored, and so yeah, that would be on top of the frozen amount.
So actually, I think you just made a good point. Can you just kind of speak on that real quick, the different benefits that you've seen, you know, that as far as the county offers?
So, yeah, the county in general, I think has been very conservative with tax rates and with the discounts that are offered. I don't think that the general public knows, but the discounts can be very difficult to administer in the calculations. It just adds a layer of complexity to things. So many, I would even venture to say most counties do not offer discounts anymore. They've been phased out over the years. Washington County has been very, so far adamant and faithful about allowing those discounts. Right now, the discounts are at about $500,000. So the county gives up about $500,000 of levy each year because of the discounts. And then we've also looked at your tax rate calculations. There's been over $1 million in tax dollars, not value, but actual levy money that could have been levied or assessed. I'm looking for the right word. In taxes over the past 3 years. That has been left on the table because the tax rate was not set as high as it could have been. And that's when I say as high as it could have been.
We didn't max out our 3%.
Exactly. And without a vote. So those rates could have been set without a vote, but the tax rate has been set consistently somewhat below the highest allowed without a vote. And so we also calculate and look at that. It's been over $1 million within the last 3
I think it's
years.
closer to 1.5.
Yes.
Maybe a little under.
Yeah.
So basically, can you just talk about that real quick? I'm sorry, Commissioner. Just about what the legislature allows as it relates to the recapture. And if you could explain that.
Yes, so in the calculation of tax rates, the calculations are mandated by law. There's a specific form to be used across the state by counties and other taxing entities. And that form must be available on your website and on my website. And then this year we have to provide hyperlinks to all of the reports that we use to calculate and show the figures that we're plugging into the form. And so one section of the form is called the unused increment rate. So over a 3-year period, a county can look at what was the highest allowable rate, the voter approval rate. That's the highest allowed rate without a vote of the public. what was that rate, and then what was the actual rate that was set. So what was the amount of rate that was not used in that year, and then we actually turned that amount of rate into a tax or a levy amount. So actual dollars that were not collected that could have been. And then we can turn that back into tax rate percentage, and it can be added into the tax rate set each year. So there's a 3-year period in which you can recapture that, all of it, some of it, none of it. It's really up to each taxing unit.
And you said that number is closer to 1.4 million.
Yes, the foregone revenue is $1,473,229. So 1.47.
So that's why I kept saying, just under one.
Over 3. Actually, and truthfully, it's a 3-year calculation. One of the years there was no unused increment because you did go as high as you could. But also over the last 2 years is where the 1.475 has accumulated.
I thought in your presentation, we were talking about appraisal values, and you said they kind of stabilized now. You
Yes.
finally got them where.
I think so. In addition to just the market in general being somewhat stagnant, I believe we have reached a period of equalization or calibration in our office where we shouldn't see any wild swings in broad categories of property. That doesn't mean that there won't be some property, that we discover maybe we had unequally appraised a neighborhood or, missed a category of a small section of the county. But as far as broad, sweeping, huge increases, no, I don't foresee that happening
And that's based upon an audit from the state, correct?
again. To some degree, yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. It is.
Can you actually speak to that real quick? I think this is a good
Sure.
opportunity for you
Okay.
to talk about the way the funding for the appraisal
School
district and how
districts.
y'all are separate and all of that, because there's, there's constantly a lot of confusion where people think that you work for us and we work with you, so they don't understand the legal separation
Right.
there. And then, a lot of people are confused about, why the entities pay, which is obviously, required per the legislature, so.
So in 1979, legislation was passed that created appraisal districts. Prior to that, every taxing unit had to perform to some degree their own appraisals. And so you would get a value from the school, you would get a value from the county, and maybe a different value from the city. And there really was no means for a property owner to protest that value. If they didn't like the appraisal, there really wasn't much that could be done about it. So beginning in 1980, every county was required to have an appraisal district. And appraisal districts were created specifically to be non-political, unbiased, unswayed by elected officials or the public at large. And so we really exist to perform appraisals only for the purpose of taxation. The appraisal district has no vetted interest in increasing value. So an increase in value doesn't mean an increase in pay for me. It doesn't mean more funding for my office. An increase in value for us would only happen when real estate markets dictate it. And so we're required to appraise within a certain percentage of actual sales that are occurring in the market. That's commercial property, land, residential, and actually oil and gas as well. Even the power lines that you see and cell phone towers. Every property in the county is required to be appraised by our office. And as far as the values and how they're audited, how we're checked, every other year the comptroller's office, their property tax assistance division, the comptroller has staff that perform appraisals of every school district in the state. And they do this for the purpose of school funding. So this all goes back to TEA. But the way I like to explain it is that state funding for schools is done in a way that assumes your appraisal district knows what they're doing and is creating accurate value, right? So if you have an appraisal district who is underperforming or overperforming, then they could potentially get more state funding than they're entitled to, or less, which really that doesn't happen. It's usually the other way around. and it creates an imbalance. So for the purpose of equalizing funding for public schools, the property value study is done. And so they do look at, and they have access to sales data. And over this study, they pull up everything that has been reported to them as sales. They pull up our appraisals, and we need to be within 5%.
Plus or minus 5.
Plus or minus 5%. That's one of the smallest margins in the nation. Other states allow different margins. 5%, that's a really close margin.
It's a really close margin, and can you also explain how that's tied to,
School
you know,
funding.
because we've already gone through that, where we've failed some audits, and, you know, I want you to kind of explain that, because that's,
Sure.
failing an audit it's not necessarily a representation on you or whatever. They're basically
Yeah.
saying your values aren't high enough.
Yeah.
And that happened to us
Really 2 years in a
2
row.
years in a row.
2 years in a row. So I came in 2021 during COVID, and there was the phenomenon. I know realtors in the audience and in our community can speak to this as well. But during COVID, there was unheard of astronomical growth in real estate. There was people coming to Texas. There were also a lot of people looking to buy different properties. For whatever reason, the market went crazy during COVID. And so I'm active through our state association, the Texas Association of Appraisal Districts, as an executive board member and as a regional trustee. We actually reached out to Governor Abbott during COVID and said, can we just freeze values? Could we not reappraise right now? Because not only was the market bad, we were dealing with no staff in our office. And it all happened in the spring, which is when we're finalizing appraisals. So it was a perfect storm for everything to be very difficult. Many appraisal districts across the state were not able, whether it was through staffing or data needs or whatever factual reason, they were not able to keep up with the market. And so quite a few appraisal districts failed their property value studies in 21, 22, 23 because of these really large increases in the market. And so for Brenham ISD and Burton ISD, my first year here and second year here, we failed those audits for both school districts, I believe. Definitely both school districts for 21. I think for 22, we only failed in Brenham. But that's only because Burton ISD has a lot of oil and gas value. I'm getting it a little into the weeds, but it offsets some of what happened with residential and land properties. Where was I going with that? So the comptroller's office, when they perform these property value studies, if you are not within that 5% margin, let's say, just like a test you would take at school, you're trying to hit 100. If you are between 95 and 100, you're fine. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But let's say you get an 80. If you are off and you're anywhere from 80 to 89% on your scores, immediately you're going to lose state funding because your schools are going to be funded based on what the state says your values should be. So that's how much money the state is going to turn over to your schools. You're not going to collect enough tax to make up the difference. So there's a gap. That's basically the way that works, is that, yeah, if your state funding templates, they're not going to use your local taxable values. They're going to use the values as determined by the state because those are considered correct.
And so that difference is a loss to the school district.
It is.
Right.
And it's hard to argue when the state has sales data. So you can say, well, this property is not worth that much. Well, we have this sale and this sale and this sale. And so it is a contentious
But that's why
thing, but-
sales data is also,
Yes.
not a perfect model either.
correct.
you know,
Correct.
As we've seen in this recent market correction.
It's true. It's true. And there's also papers out there now that indicate, based on data, that when you have a state without sales disclosure like Texas, that it's your lower value homes that pay more of their true value in taxation, and that your more expensive homes, your multi-million-dollar homes, those escape some of that taxation because you don't have sales disclosure. So it's a lot easier to value a $250,000 home than a $14 million home.
Right.
And so there's actually some disparity between taxation between some of the lower value homes and the most valuable homes when you don't have sales disclosure in the state. So yes, it is something that I would like to see happen. We don't expect that to happen, but we would love to see it.
Are there any other questions?
Any other questions or discussion?
From the audience?
Thank you for
Media?
coming.
Anyone? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate your presentation. Thank you. Item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding approval to authorize Collier Construction, the construction manager at risk, to advertise and solicit bids for bid package number 1 for repairs and maintenance, including the demolition and removal of the JLA building and related site and utility work at the Washington County Expo located at 1305 East Bluebell Road, Brenham, Texas. Mr. Williams?
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, so what this is for is the demolition of the JLA building. Some folks may know this building is the old security office. Way back in the day, I think it was a concession stand. At one point, this is a building located between the Quonset hut and the VIP. Just a very thin little strip. This building has not really been utilized outside of storage for several years, and it is time for it to go. So we are going out for bid for that, or we're requesting that we go out to bid for that today to get rid of that building. Some of the utility improvements that we are looking at will be electrical upgrades for the food court, electrical improvements for barn 1, 2, and 3 to get pricing on those to see what needs to be done, including plumbing repair to the sales facility and the entertainment pavilion, and some work on the sanitary sewer lines that need to be done so our bathrooms flush better. Everyone's favorite subject. So this bid package has a mandatory site tour July 27th at 10 a.m. for folks that would like to attend that. Questions on this particular bid package can be directed to Collier Construction, specifically bid at collierconstruction.com, and it is due August 6th at 2 p.m. So, do y'all have any questions on this? It is very lengthy and prescriptive
Yes.
package.
Very descriptive. Okay, is there any,
We've been discussing some of these improvements for,
Yeah,
especially the electrical and the plumbing.
many of these utility upgrades we've talked about this for many budget years, and probably beat this horse to death.
we have discussed it several times. Yes, we have.
Every month.
Okay,
A motion to approve and authorize Collier Construction, the construction manager at rest, to advertise and solicit bids for bid package number 1 for repairs and maintenance, including the demolition and removal of the JLA building and related site and utility work at the Washington County Expo located at 1305 East Bluebell Road, Brenham, Texas 77833. Bids are due
August
August 6th
At 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
second. Motion been made, seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding approval of an order creating and designating the Washington County Expo located at 1305 East Bluebell Road, Brenham, Texas 77833 as Washington County Expo Park.
All right. Equally fun, exciting. So what this does is designates our property as a park and puts us under 320 of Texas Local Government Code. This does not change the name of the property. It does not change how the property operates. It does not change much of anything in terms of the operations or naming conventions of the property itself. This is part of the potential CO or bond process. A way I would think about it is you have to get your car titled. We're titling the car before we can put it on the road. Is probably the simplest way to think about it. It is just a stamp that the state says we have to do. So,
And it also opens us up to extra funding from grants.
Additional funding.
it does.
Grant
If
opportunities.
y'all looked at
funding sources.
the COG recently released their CDBG priorities for their block grants, parks, facilities, and others were included upon that list. And I believe they expanded that priority list this year from years past with some sort of nudging from our office.
And does it allow us to start using hot funds a little bit more down there as far as maintenance and?
It opens up some flexibility that we did not previously have to help cover some of
From
those
a funding
expenses.
perspective,
Mhm.
on multiple
Some
different.
additional funding opportunities as
Correct.
well. but it is just an internal documentation piece.
Okay.
A motion to approve an order creating and designating the Washington County Expo located at 1305 East Bluebell Road, Brenham, Texas 77833 at Washington County Expo Park.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Item number 7, discussion and possible action regarding approval of a request from Chapel Hill Volunteer Fire Department for county funding assistance in the amount of $32,500 to provide required grant matching funds for fire protection equipment, including $30,000 toward the purchase of a new 4,000-gallon Osco water tank with a 1,000-gallon per minute pump, $1,250 towards the firefighter personal protective equipment and SCBA bottle replacements, and $1,250 towards fire and rescue equipment for existing apparatus in the new water tender. Mr. Brown, how are you, sir?
How's it going? Good morning. Good morning, Court. How are y'all? So for those of you in the room who do not know who I am, I'm Dustin Brown. I'm a captain and the current sitting president for the Chapel Hill Volunteer Fire Department. Also handle a lot of stuff when it comes to things like this to make sure that everything's in order to help out the fire company assistant chief. So like it says, we're here today requesting $32,500 towards grant matching funds for a new tender. The drawing that you see on there is the proposed new tender that we should be getting. And we'll go into more details with that. So the request at a glance, so like I said, we're requesting county support, mostly to offset local costs tied to the fire departments, especially for fire protection projects with these grants. The total project value for us is $453,825. We accepted 3 grants, and we'll get into those a little bit more. And then we're expecting the tender to arrive in January, April of 2027. We're not requesting the county to carry the full cost because that is our responsibility. We're just here as part of the MOU agreement that we had, so we're here to do our due diligence. And we're also here just requesting to reduce the local burden for us. So this is the funding request breakdown. The Osco Peterbilt tender, the quote that we received for the truck that is currently in production is $403,825, which $30,000 would go towards that, which is rural water supply and fire ground operations. The second one is a $25,000 grant for firefighter PPE, and then another $25,000 for fire and rescue equipment grant. The fire and rescue equipment, when we purchase all of the equipment related to that grant, it will be going to the new tender. We're using most of that money to build out the tender the way we need it, and then the rest of it will fill in some gaps on some of the apparatus that we have that we actually need more equipment for. And then the firefighter PPE grant, we had 1 set of structural gear that needs to be purchased, because ironically, before we got the grant, we went out, we purchased almost $35,000 worth of gear, and then we got the grant, and then we're like, oh, this doesn't help us anymore. But we did have 1 more set of gear that we needed to purchase, and then we're hoping to use the rest of that fund to replace some bottles, which I'll get into a little bit more. So essentially, y'all's request, the request that we're giving y'all covers about 7.2% of the entire project. So the tender funding responsibility, like I said, the quote was $403,825. The grant will cover $300,000. So the remaining local responsibility will be $103,000. With the county taking off that $30,000 for us, we will be responsible for $73,825. If we do financing, which we may end up doing just to help us offset some other costs, it'll cost us about $7,200 a year for 15 years. So kind of a breakdown for people that don't know why water tender is critical in rural fire protection, because hydrants are a hot commodity. Every commissioner in here knows that.
Yeah.
I do not have to repeat that. But water has to be brought to the fire scenes to make things happen. And it's our job to make sure that we have the best equipment, especially the bigger trucks with the more water to bring it to these calls. This truck is a 4,000-gallon truck, which we'll get into a little bit more details on that. It will also have a 1,000 GPM pump on it, so which means it can flow a lot of water when we need it to, especially on bigger structure fires. The swivel dump, so essentially if you see on the very back of the truck, there's a little square box. That thing actually extends out and can go to either side of the truck if we need it to. So if we have to pull up next to a portable tank, we can dump off the side, either side, or to the back. It can move. And it also has a manual drop-down tank rack on the passenger side, so we will be able to have the ability to deploy a portable tank right then and there, drop our water, and then leave to go refill. Just kind of breakdown of what we did last year. We're not going to go into a full department data package because we have that set aside for Commissioner Bullock and Commissioner Precinct 2-elect Jim Chisholm. Last year we ran 266 calls, which was actually a 35% increase in call volume from the year prior. We had 183 non-cancel responses, so which means we actually made scene, saw what happened, took care of the incident, whatever the case may be. We had 18 structure fires, 19 grass fires, and we gave mutual aid 97 times.
Is
So-
the traffic calls part of the non-canceled responses?
Yes.
Do you
And
know how many those are?
off the top of my head, I think it was about 93 calls. So, and that also,
Approximately 50%.
yeah, that also encompasses extrication calls as well that we've had to do because we had quite a few last year. We've also had quite a few this year as well. So what the truck is replacing. So the truck is replacing a 1998 water tender. This is the Mac. We call it the Mac. This is what they call the Mac. The way you see it leaning, that's the way it actually leans all the time. So that truck is 1998. It currently holds 3,200 gallons. The pump rated on it is 300 gallons per minute. The truck is 28 years old, so it is well out of standard because every apparatus has to be at least 15 years. A reserve has to be 15 to 20 years. Anything greater than 20 years has to be retired if you can do it. In its condition, it has a lot of mechanical issues that we're constantly fixing, so that truck will be replacing this one. Like I said, the new one has 4,000 gallons, has 1,000 GPM pump. Apparatus will be new. It's a new build, so we're gaining 800 additional gallons in water, the ability to pump 700 more gallons per minute, and it's also going to be, because it's new, there's more reliability, and there's also improved readiness.
Less maintenance.
Yep. Should be less maintenance.
Should be.
These are just some other details that comes with the truck. There's the passenger side of the truck of what it would look like. It will be a 2027, so this truck technically will last us another 15 years, so we don't have to worry about this particular truck. There's different things about it if you want to know the details, but that's readily available. So this one shows that we did our due diligence when we went out searching for new apparatus. We actually looked at 5 different companies, and Osco was the lowest quote, which also gave us the greatest amount of tank size and just about the same pump capacity that we need. So the most expensive truck was the Firemaster down there at the bottom, which was $539,000. So the next lowest quote was Deep South at $415, which was about $11,175 more than the current quote that we got. And Osco is approximately $99,103 below the average of the other 4 quotes. So, just so
The highest water capacity too.
yeah. And it just really just shows that we did our due diligence to make sure that everybody knows that we actually went out to look and not just chose a truck just because we wanted.
Right.
Potential ISO community insurance benefits. So currently the Chapel Volunteer Fire Department District is an 8B/10. 10 is bad, 1 is great. But the 8B is for anybody who lives within 5 drive miles of the fire station. So that's where we're at. So with this tender, we're going to be getting the 800 gallons, the additional 700 GPM, and the new apparatus age. All of that stuff goes towards the ISO rating. ISO is never a guaranteed thing because every person that comes out and grades it's a little bit different in how they grade. We're working on different things to improve our ISO rating as a VFD. It's very hard, especially with no water systems out there, unless the water tower. But I know that they're working on some hydrants out there, a couple of them, which will also help improve the ISO rate at a later date. So, but for those of you who do not know, the ISO is also what helps gauge your insurance rates on your house, your commercial properties, things like that. So we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we help lower those people's insurance if we can.
Or to do what you can, yeah.
The other two grants, PPE and fire rescue equipment. So the firefighter grant, the year costs about $5,000. The remaining funds will go towards SCBA bottles. It'll probably end up being 11 bottles, depending on how much money we have left over after the year is purchased. Because we have 23 SCBA bottles that are approaching their 15-year service life, so which means they have to be retired after 15 years. So this will help replace 10 to 11 of them. So that's kind of our goal to go with those. And then on the fire rescue equipment grant, like I said, it's going to be going towards the new tender, purchasing a bunch of equipment for that, and then followed with fixing some things that we need, especially nozzles, hose fittings, adapters, different tools, drafting devices, anything that's related to our apparatus system. So accountability and timeline. So the $32,000 would be paid directly to us. Whenever we start getting things paid, we can actually start utilizing those funds towards those items. $30,000 will go towards the tender, and then the $1250 will be applied to the PPE and firefighter grants as needed. During this time, we can coordinate with Commissioner Bullock that any time that we have receipts, screenshots, quotes, anything like that, if she needs it, we can provide that. That will not be a problem at all. The grant status and timing, which is actually on the next page as well. The protective equipment grants, we've already accepted all 3 grants. We have till August 13th to purchase all the personal protective equipment that we're working on. So it is kind of a time constraint for us. And then the tender, which the tender will get a what's called an extension for the grants, just because it's not going to be here till next year. So we'll be extending that. And then the fire rescue equipment, we'll have most of that equipment purchased before the truck even gets here. And this is just kind of another breakdown. So the requested action, we're requesting $32,500 to help offset those costs. There is the possibility to potentially incorporate it into the fiscal year 27 budget, but of course, there's always that it can hurt us whenever it comes to the grant stuff. But we at least wanted to leave that option available. And then that's just another slide that shows the dates at a bigger time for those of you who need to use the readers, because I have to use them too. But I have readers in my eyes right now. Any supporting documentation available. So we can constantly show you all the accepted grant status, expiration dates. We can send you drawings, updates, anything that we do. And we showed you all the apparatus quote comparison as needed. And anytime that we get new pictures of the apparatus, anything like that, we can provide that to you all. Any invoices, payments, if needed, we can do that as well. And then we'll also give you all the final project update when we get closer, whenever it's actually being delivered. So we can do another push-in. Yeah, it's another push-in ceremony, because that's
cool.
fire tradition.
So what are you gonna do with the old truck?
We're gonna try to sell it. We're gonna try to resell it so it can also recoup some of that cost back to us, so we
Help
can,
you finance the
Yeah.
remainder of the debt.
yeah, to help pay off some of the, to help pay off some of the truck. So,
Well, I want to thank you for the presentation. I truly appreciate this. You put a lot of effort and information and data in there for us.
I tried.
I also want to thank you for your diligence with these grants, going out
Yeah.
for them and working hard to get those grants. So it
Absolutely.
helps us all.
Yep. One of the big factors is, I know some of y'all know Mr. Lusk, Jonathan Lusk.
Yes.
He's also been helping us with some of the grants as well. So,
Oh, great.
yeah, he's been helping us find some grants that we've been looking into, so very good.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate y'all taking the time to search these out, because I know, we've had a lot of conversations about how expensive the SCBA packs and the bottles and all of that. And I know at one point, I don't know if it was I think it was last year, a presentation, we just couldn't fit it all in, because it's all very expensive. But I really appreciate y'all going out and doing your due diligence to try to find grants to provide some of these, some of this equipment. That's a huge impact, especially when you look at how expensive everything is.
And for clarification, a new fire engine costs about $1.2 million. So
What's the wait time on
a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think that's what it would be, it'd probably be.
Yeah.
Anyway, appreciate the presentation.
A motion to approve the request from Chapel Hill Volunteer Fire Department for county funding assistance in the amount of $32,500 to provide required grant match funding for fire protection equipment, including $30,000 towards the purchase of a new 4,000-gallon Osco water tender with the 1,000 GPM pump, $1,250 towards firefighter personal protective equipment and SCBA bottle replacements, and $1,250 towards fire and rescue equipment for existing apparatus and the new water tender.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thanks again for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Mitch, for being here also. We recognize you.
I know, I didn't see him,
Yeah. Okay, we appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Item number 8, presentation of the 2026 six-month economic development update. Ms. Rosales?
Do you want to control the keyboard or I can for you?
You can control it.
Make it easy. Yeah.
but no, you're fine.
Honorable Judge and County Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come and provide a 6-month update for our economic development activities. First thing I want to focus on is what I usually do is just to share a little bit about City of Brenham building permits. This is from January through June of this year. You can see the number of permits requested or issued and evaluation. There are a couple there that were quite high, so I pulled out some information on item number 1. You can see in February, Brenham Family Park and also Brenham Veterinary were a couple of large permit requests then. And in March of 2026, that quite large valuation of $42 million included the $33,900,000 for CGG services. And then in June, we had a $32 million valuation, 28.2 of that was for the water treatment plant. So again, a lot of permits, but also some very good valuations so far year to date. The next item, again, is something I also provide since we don't issue any kind of a building or a business license. This is the closest thing that I can look at for the number of businesses coming into our county. And those are the AKA statements. So you can see they're pretty steady overall. We're at 129 so far this year. After that, just kind of a quick glance on analytics. We're still working on website changes and also social analytics for different events that we're having. Next page, please. So this is something a little new that I wanted to share with you. Sometimes you don't get to see the kind of behind the scenes about these RFIs. We hear about RFIs that come from the state, the governor's office. They come from some of our partners, the Greater Houston Partnership, the Greater Brazos Partnership. So I decided to kind of log them so that you can kind of see, yes.
For the public, RFI is?
Request for information. So what happens is maybe a business from Canada will decide that Texas sounds great. So they'll directly contact the governor's office and say, we're thinking about moving our business into Texas, and these are our parameters. And so then the governor's office sends a wide net called RFIs across the state. Sometimes they're targeted. I think sometimes they're not quite targeted very well, but they send them out to see who wants to respond to it. They rarely ever give us the name of the business. They do give us the industry, but they also issue it a funky project name. And I'm going to say funky because you'll see that some of these are very interesting. Cheetah Run at the very beginning is the first one. But they'll give us basic information and they'll say, do you want to respond to it? Again, it's very, very wide net and it's very cryptic sometimes. So in the month of June, from June 1 to June 30, these are all of the RFIs that I received. And you'll notice in blue are really the only ones that I responded to because I felt that we had the ability to maybe compete for what it is they're looking for. Usually when I get an RFI, I just immediately look for what we can't do. because sometimes they do ask for things that are impossible. Like they want to be real close to the port of Houston. Well, can't be real close, and they'll actually define mileage amount. So you can see in June, we did respond to 4 RFIs. Porchlight, Bill Strong, Switch, and Western Boots. Again, not knowing what the company is. So then it's the waiting game at this point. We wait and see if they'll respond. Sometimes they do, most of the time they don't. And then underneath at the bottom, I just wanted to mention a couple of the other leads that I have in progress that I'm working on. These aren't all the leads, but these are also ones that came in the month of June. So I'll be providing you this going forward just so that you can see that there is activity in our region. Any questions about this?
Oh, no, sorry, I was just like,
Hawaiian,
does that say
yeah.
Hawaiian Cabinetry Company?
Oh, how about Dracula Night?
I saw that one.
I'll tell you that they did provide us that it's a company from Romania. Anyway, just kind of fun behind the scenes.
So you never find out why they did not choose this area?
It's rare that we would ever get that information. Next slide, please. So again, in my attempt to try to be transparent and provide a lot of communication to our elected officials and to their constituency, I kind of formulated the report a little different. It's a 1-page front and back, and you're welcome to copy that or share that with your constituents. I've had a few elected officials come to me and ask me questions, and they wish that they had something that they could give them. So this was designed in a way that you could actually give this to your constituents. The first section just talks about the work that we're doing with Marketing Alliance on building our brand new BrenhamED.com website. That is going well. And we're also working on the services for business attraction as well with them. We've had 2 meetings about that. What's in a name? I decided to go ahead and maybe.
I think that's I'm glad that you're drawing attention to that.
Yes, people wonder, they think that we're Cloak and Dagger coming up with names. And you know what? Cloak and Dagger is probably a great name for a project one day. So this is just to share that we get some interesting names. Sometimes they don't mean anything. Finally, on the first page, I do get asked periodically about Veridian and their progress. And if you'll drive by the Southwest Industrial Park, you will see that they are busy every single day. There's probably about 25 to 30 trucks on their land, and they're working through it. And they do have a website that they've dedicated to our Brenham project that anyone can go to and look up information and also ask questions directly to Veridian. All right, so here's some good news I'm excited about. Prairie View A&M University, they're great. I've been working with them a lot more, collaborating on different events, but Blinn also has now rolled out their entrepreneurial initiatives training. They're now offering an AAS degree in entrepreneurship and a entrepreneurship certificate. This is something that they had offered way in the past, but I convinced them to pull it back out again.
That's a great idea.
I think it's important. And then also, if you'll notice, they're looking at artificial intelligence and business AA degrees and also a certificate. I'm thinking of signing up for one of those. So that's great for our region. Next, I want to just give you a snapshot on median home sales prices for Washington. Sorry, I couldn't get it in the deadline to get the June numbers for you, but at least you can see where we're kind of hovering. Of course, it's median price, so.
Right.
And then finally at the bottom, again, getting asked all the time questions about what's coming into town. I did have a developer stop by my office to let me know that they are working on the project, which is at the corner of Bluebell and 36, right next to the same side as the Liberty Village subdivision. And they are working on about 4 or 5 pads there. And so there's information. You can actually go onto the website and get a closer look at what they're looking for. So a few quick service restaurants, I know that they have that in mind. In addition to that, I think in the last month or so, I forwarded a report on projects that I got from our development department, Stephanie Doland. I didn't include that here because it's not my report, it's her report. But again, just trying to give you the answers to the questions that you're getting asked in the community about what's coming into the area. So now we'll have information that we can share with you. And also, I would love it to live on our website so that if you don't have it readily handy, you can say, go to brenhamed.com and look for projects, and people will be able to get updated on that. I get calls all the time. Any questions?
This
Thank
was
you
all,
very much
thank
for the
you.
presentation.
All right.
Item number 9, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of 2 ambulance modules through HGAC contract number AM10-23 in the amount of $595,400. Mr. Leonard?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
These ambulance modules were budgeted for through the previous budget and for 26. Now we're on track to get them started on building. Should put them in service in December.
In December, okay.
Yes, sir.
Are these remounts or are these?
No, these are new builds.
New builds?
Yes, sir.
And that's the total?
Yes, sir. This is just for the ambulance module, the boxes. We have the
Yeah.
chassis already.
But that's included
Yep.
in our, put that in CapEx, didn't we?
Yes.
This year, it's in the budget.
Right.
So, okay. A motion to approve the purchase of 2 ambulance modules through HGAC contract number AM10-23 in the amount of $595,400.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in
Thank you,
favor
Taylor.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action on the approval of Commissioners Court meetings of June 2026.
I didn't see any corrections.
I didn't have any corrections.
I make a motion to approve the Commissioners Court meeting minutes of June 2026.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discussion and possible action on the approval of ancillary insurance amounts for the October 1st, 2026 renewal for plan year 2026-2027. Ms. Scalpa?
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We've already done medical in some prior courts here recently, but we did just get the renewal rates for all of our ancillary benefits. So this is all the additional insurance coverages that we do have for our employees. The good news is that only one ancillary benefit, the dental, went up in cost. So we are currently at a loss ratio of at about 130%. So essentially what that means is what is expected of our spend and what our employees are utilizing of the benefit is substantially more. In the past with our broker firm, with Haney Group, we have been able to do extended year agreements to secure that rate. Because of our loss ratio being over 104%, I no longer can go more than 1 year. So we're taking losses each year. They're not willing to extend on extended years. So basically what they've done here is the number that I've been talking to you about, 25 to 30% is what we're seeing in the market.
Right.
We did go ahead and negotiate down to 19%. This is a pass rate over to our employees, so the county doesn't assume any responsibility here. It does just get passed on to our employees. The reason why I do bring this to court is because our life insurance is compensated by the county, but there is a pass rate of 0 to that, so no additional cost there. Any questions?
Wait, what was the second column on the right?
We offer 2 dental plans,
Oh,
a
that's
low
right.
and a
Yeah,
high.
I have that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
essentially the same. The
I
high
forgot.
plan is just includes orthodontic care. So.
Right, I have mine.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anyone?
Nope.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve ancillary insurance amounts for October 1st, 2026 renewal plan year 2026 through 2027 as presented by HR Director.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
you.
Item number 12, discuss and possibly act upon the placement of Creekview Trail, 0.28 miles, Windmill Ridge, 0.33 miles, Millwood Trail, 0.29 miles, and Prairie Blossom Way, 0.18 miles, located in the Windmill Ridge subdivision, into the one-year maintenance period and reducing the bond to 50%. Mr. Stokes.
Morning, Judge. Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yes, so this is the Windmill Ridge subdivision located on 2193, approximately 1 mile east of the State Highway 105 intersection. You should remember this one from November of last year. It's actually moved very, very quickly, very efficiently throughout this process. The final plat was approved in November of 2025. We've gone through a couple different inspections for some small things, nothing significant, but some minor erosion, some minor reeling, a few areas that just had a little small sediment in the ditches. But all of those have all been addressed, and they do meet all of the requirements for the initial acceptance into the one-year maintenance period. At the finalization of that 1 year, they will be required to do a third core seal on this, and everything holds up well, everything looks good. We'll come back in approximately a year to accept this roadway into the Washington County road system. Just to give a little quick summary of kind of what we're looking at this is we do have 4 separate roadways as part of this subdivision that have all been read off. I won't read them again, but they amount to a little over a mile. 1.08 miles is what we're looking at here, with 41 lots that are being served with 7 culverts included with this one. So that's kind of where we stand on everything. We are recommending approval of the initial acceptance into the one-year maintenance period.
I make a motion for the placement of Creekview Trail, 0.28 miles, Windmill Ridge, 0.33 miles, Millwood Trail, 0.29 miles, and Prairie Blossom Way, 0.18 miles, located in the Windmill Ridge subdivision, into the one-year maintenance period and reducing the bond to 50% in Precinct 1.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you.
Item number 13, discussion and possible action on the approval of accounts payable. Ms. Kramer?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, you added it in. Okay, today we will be paying $388,240.01.
Nothing
1
exciting.
penny, yeah. Nothing in there exciting. We do have all of the first round of the 6-month checks for the fire departments.
Okay.
So that's in there for the meeting tomorrow.
I motion to approve accounts payable.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I didn't know what you. I didn't know what I.
What did you?
I didn't know what I.
What were